There's this phrase that goes, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Now, eating an apple a day doesn't really keep the doctor away, but we all know that's not the meaning of the phrase. Anyways, the meaning behind the phrase is, if you make healthy decisions every day, you're going to be healthier. So in today's episode of the Church Helper Podcast, I'm going to give you a few ways that your church can make healthier decisions every day and avoid that sneaky little problem that we've been talking about called mission drift. So if you're up for it, stick around because the Church Helper Podcast starts right now. Hey there, and welcome to another edition of the Church Helper Podcast. Our mission here at Church Helper is to help churches make every decision on purpose. My name is Mike, and I'm excited to help you in your church today. So let's just get into it. Now, in our last couple of episodes, we've talked about what mission drift is and how to identify it. And if you haven't listened to those yet, pause right now and head back and take in those episodes. They're going to give you a lot of context into what I'm going to talk about today. Now, as we talked about before, we all know that the apple a day phrase doesn't really mean that an apple a day keeps the doctor away. It means if you make healthy decisions every day, you're going to be healthier. Now, that's not too catchy, but it's a true statement nonetheless. So if we apply that statement to our context that we've been talking about, how do you avoid mission drift? I would say this: making intentional decisions every day helps keep mission drift away. And if you think about it, it sounds simple, but that's because it really is. And I want to point out one thing before we jump into some of this. There is a difference between making the right decision every day and making an intentional decision every day. And sometimes we're just not going to know if we make the right decision until we see how it plays out. But when we do things on purpose, it gives us confidence that we have a path forward even when we fail. So how can you start making more intentional decisions at your church every day to help avoid mission drift? Well, here are my top 3 suggestions for you. Number 1, start every meeting by talking about the mission of your church. Now, it seems like this might get repetitive fast, especially in a meeting that happens weekly, like a staff or an elders meeting. But this one will be the difference between every meeting staying on mission or not, and here's how. When you remind people of your mission at the beginning of every meeting, you do a few important things. First, you show everybody that you know why you're there. When you can set an example for what it looks like to lead towards a goal, it gives everybody confidence to follow you too. And when you take a mission-first approach, so will everybody else. Second, it tells everybody why they're there. When people know that their meeting matters, they're less likely to tune out and not contribute, because purpose always leads to productivity. And finally, it keeps the mission top of mind. So if you repeat your mission to every staff member and every volunteer every time you get together, they're not going to forget it. And not only that, they're going to know how important it is, and they're going to start to view everything through that lens too. Number 2, always be asking the question, how does this idea help accomplish our mission? Now, this will be its own topic on our podcast one day, so I'll keep it short for now. But if every decision you make gets filtered through that phrase, it does a few things. It makes sure the best ideas get the most time because they're discussed based on the measure of success you've all agreed on, accomplishing the mission, instead of who brought it to the table. Second, it reduces the chances of somebody's feelings getting hurt. And this is a big one because there are emotions attached to every idea. But when you make decisions based on mission, it shifts the conversation from me versus you to us versus the mission. And because every idea might be great, focusing on how that idea helps, not who brought it to the table, keeps everybody's egos in check. And finally, it keeps your team focused, because if your team knows every meeting they go into needs to answer the question, how does this idea help accomplish my mission? They're going to try to come with an answer to that question in every single meeting. And finally, number 3, always focus on the why before the how, because honestly, ideas are really easy to come up with. If you want ideas for an outreach plan to your neighborhood or a missions project to support or what game to play in your youth group, it's going to take like 15 minutes of Googling to create a pretty extensive list of ideas. So to make sure your ideas are worth their time, your mission should always shape those methods. And one of the best ways to avoid mission drift entirely is to make sure your mission always takes priority over your methods or your ideas. Now, it's something we all need to work on from time to time, but this is a vital part of avoiding mission drift and will be huge in every meeting that you have. So in closing, repeat this phrase after me. Making intentional decisions every day helps keep mission drift away. One more time. Making intentional decisions every day helps keep mission drift away. And if you can remember that, then you shouldn't ever get too far away from where you're trying to go. Hey, if you're a staff member or a volunteer and you're still unsure as to how to identify mission drift, please feel free to reach out to us for a quick chat, or you can download our free mission drift assessment tool on our website. Those things might help you out a bunch. Please tell somebody about this podcast if you get the chance. And if there's somebody in your life that you think should hear this, but they're not really an audio content person, I've got you covered. Just head over to our website, churchhelper.ca/podcast, and there you can find a printable transcript of today's episode. Thanks so much for engaging with the episode today. So excited to keep on journeying with you and helping your church make every decision on purpose. We'll talk to you again really soon.